Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Our cricket community has also come together to pay tribute to Jones. Local legend David Boon saw his talent up close and personal, playing numerous Test and one-day matches for Australia together, and says he was not only a great player, but he also had a heart of gold.
Just 2 days ago, David Boon was speaking to Dean Jones on the phone. Today, he was left to reflect on the sudden passing of his great friend.
Honoured that I was his mate, had a heart of gold, and he will be sorely missed.
The two started playing for their respective states around the same time. Boon says the Victorian was a tough customer during his numerous visits to Tasmania for Sheffield Shield and one-day cricket.
I still have nightmares about some of them. He was as much a competitor at Shield cricket as what he was at Test and one-day cricket.
The two spending plenty of time at the crease together at Bellerive for Australia, including a 94-run stand against Zimbabwe at the 1992 World Cup. Boon also had a front seat for Dean Jones's most memorable moments, including his famous 210 in oppressive conditions in India, and the time Jones enraged Curtly Ambrose by asking him to remove his white wristbands.
I was just subconsciously thinking, no, Dino, do not do it. Please do not do it. Dino, forever the provocateur, trying to get a little bit on uphanded.
Dean Jones scored one of his 11 Test centuries in the first ever Test held at the Bellerive Oval against Sri Lanka in 1989. In the second innings, he hit 118 off 178 balls, also forming a 6-wicket 260-run partnership with Steve Waugh. Today, Tasmania's current generation of cricketers were also reflecting on his impact, many considering him an idol.
When I was growing up in the backyard, if I wasn't David Boon, I was Dean Jones, and my brother and the guys I grew up with down here were all the same.
My dad sort of sat me down to make me see what cricket was like in his time, so yeah, it's really sad news to wake up to this morning.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
Turning to other news now, and marine experts have all but confirmed how they plan to dispose of almost 400 carcasses at Macquarie Heads, as another 6 pilot whales were saved today. But in a cruel twist of fate, authorities admit a number of mammals rescued and released at sea have beached themselves again.
Once a pristine piece of coastline, now a graveyard. This is Mother Nature at her cruelest.
Just a matter of life. It's a pretty sad scene. Especially at night, you can hear the whales calling.
The number of dead pilot whales at the Macquarie Heads area estimated at around 380. The stranding now with the unwanted title as Australia's worst ever.
We are dealing with something unique. We haven't dealt with a stranding of this type.
Staff and volunteers working frantically to rescue the remaining survivors.
I'm just hoping that they can get the ones that I was watching yesterday struggling, but they have to wait their turn.
In total, 94 mammals have been released at sea, including 6 today.
Ideally, they will regroup, they will reform those bonds.
But the bad news...
A number have re-beached overnight, once again, not unexpected.
The sheer size of the stranding has drawn a huge response from government staff and volunteers, but there's claims the operation is under-resourced.
While the work that's been done is good, it's just obviously nowhere near enough. My son has constantly been asking, why aren't the Army here? Why don't the Navy have boats here?
Experts are today trialling various methods to dispose of the dead. It's feared the entire clean-up effort could take weeks. The likely choice for the hundreds of carcasses, long lining.
Effectively, you tow them out in groups of maybe 10, maybe 20.
A firm decision is expected tonight and removal will start in the coming days. Until then, this scene will leave an image onlookers will find hard to erase.
What's the most confronting part of it for you, right?
Just looking at death.
Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
Besieged Housing Minister Roger Yench has faced another day of pressure to resign after allegations he misled Parliament. Government ministers are closing ranks, with the Greens and Labor refusing to let go of the issue.
The Greens leader was probably the last person Roger Jensch wanted to see. Cassie O'Connor is adamant the Housing Minister lied to Parliament. He's sticking to his guns.
No, Cassie asked a question without giving me very much context. I answered to the best of my ability, and I'm happy with my answers that I gave yesterday.
This is the man at the heart of the question. Last year, disability pensioner Gregory Parsons won a court battle against Housing Tasmania, which was trying to evict him. Yesterday, the case resurfaced.
In response to that judgment, a decision was made by you and the government you're part of to change the law, the Residential Tenancy Act, to make it easier to evict tenants without genuine or just reason.
I'm not aware of any changes proposed or undertaken.
But the Greens say a leaked cabinet document shows the government did reach the decision, later scrapping it in the wake of COVID-19.
This is rotten. It stinks. This is not the way ministers should behave, and they should be held accountable for it.
He absolutely misled Parliament, and he should resign, or the Premier should sack him.
That's looking unlikely as senior ministers back the besieged MP.
Clearly it was a stunt by the Greens, and we have full confidence in Minister Roger Jensch.
This matter has been dealt with extensively already by the Premier yesterday. All the Liberal team have confidence in Roger Jensch.
The Greens are referring the matter to Parliament's Privileges Committee. Mr Jensch says he's going nowhere.
So you're not going to resign?
No, I won't be, no.
Refusing to close the door on his political career. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
35,000 Tasmanians have today had their job seeker payments slashed by hundreds of dollars. While the federal government insists there are jobs available for those who want them, community groups say this decision will force locals into poverty.
For thousands of Tasmanians, JobSeeker has been a lifeline through the pandemic.
People that would have had $40 to live on each day have now been actually able to pay rent, have actually been able to pay utilities for a period of time.
But from today,
the coronavirus supplement with the JobSeeker is coming to an end.
The federal government's supplement for the unemployed slashed by $300 a fortnight.
We know that we need to have a glide path to recovery, and this is one step in that.
35,000 Tasmanians will now be below the poverty line. They won't be able to afford fresh fruit and vegetables or just afford the basics.
Tasmanian Senator Jonathan Duniam says the supplement was always supposed to be a temporary measure and insists there are jobs available.
There are jobs out there for the taking, and I want to see Australians and Tasmanians who want to work getting out there and taking advantage of what is on offer.
But not everyone is as confident.
There's 23 unemployed people for every job ad. We need the support to enable people to be able to afford to get back into work.
And with JobSeeker set to drop back to its original level at the end of the year, community groups are concerned they will once again be left to pick up the pieces.
We've already seen an increase in the number of people seeking support. We expect that, again, it's going to increase further as people come back seeking support, having had the supplement, and now that's winding back.
Meg Sydes, 7 Tasmania News.
Meanwhile, Georgetown residents are hatching a plan to address barriers to unemployment in the area. Using $1 million in funding provided by the state government, the old RSL building is set to be turned into a launch pad for the community.
Build a hospitality training centre for our youth to create pathways. It's also a place for the Future Impact Group to run community initiatives, the Digital Warrior program.
Some of the funding will also be used to revitalise the main street of Georgetown, with plans to use empty buildings for pop-up shops and creative projects. The next generation of Tasmanians are having a say on the issues that are important to them through a new digital magazine called Future Tasmania, produced by the Commission for Children and Young People. The zine allows young people to share their thoughts with the decision makers in Tasmania on climate change, mental health and equality and diversity.
I'm hoping that they'll just be a little bit more aware of what they do in everyday life.
They have written songs, they've done photo essays, they've written stories, they have done huge amounts of artwork, and it's all come together in an online magazine.
Children aged between 9 and 17 have contributed. A federal politician has slammed Tasmania's gaming regulations after a woman with a cognitive disability spent all the money she had playing on a poker machine. The woman was left in tears, with a nearby charity stepping in to calm her down.
A woman with the cognitive capacity of a 5-year-old, distraught when she left this pub, having spent all the money in her pocket on the pokies.
Her initial statement to us was, "I put my food money into a machine and it didn't come back out again." We're fairly disgusted that that was a situation that presented itself.
Her $5 food allocation for the day blown, with no one at the pub stopping her from using the gaming machines.
There is no way one could not see by looking at her that she had a severe disability. And so I guess my question would be, where are the checks and balances around this happening?
Federal Group, owner of the Elwick Hotel, says it's illegal to discriminate against a person with a disability in a hotel or pub, adding that the Tasmanian Gambling Exclusion Scheme provides a means to be prohibited from gambling. It comes as Tasmanians have spent more than $18 million on the pokies last month alone, an increase of $3 million from the same time last year. During the state's 2-month lockdown, Tasmanians saved $40 million. Independent MP Andrew Wilkie has been campaigning for gaming reform.
I thought the industry has achieved a new low. To prey on a woman with severe cognitive disability, that truly is a new low.
The State Minister responsible for gaming facilities, Michael Ferguson, says Tasmania's harm minimisation framework is one of the leaders in the nation. Elizabeth O'Neill, 7 Tasmania News.
Grade 12 students at Launceston Grammar have braved cold and wet conditions overnight, walking 80 kilometres to raise funds for charity.
I'm very battered and bruised, my feet are very sore, but it was for a great cause, so it's all worth it.
We chose the charity Fight MND because a few people in our grade have been personally affected by MND.
The students have raised $46,000 so far after the walk was delayed by months due to COVID restrictions. And a Hobart school principal has shed her locks in the name of charity. Lindisfarne Primary's Kel Innes went under the clippers this morning, raising money for the Leukaemia Foundation. With members of the school community touched by cancer, she agreed to give up her locks if the school community was able to raise $3,000.
The thing that really touched us was the little prep people bringing in their pocket money, the gorgeous little kinders who brought in money that their mums had put away for them for special toys.
It was fun. It felt weird to shave because I've never shaved a head before, but it was for a good cause.
The school community raising thousands of dollars through their efforts. Tasmanian students have taken the classroom to the lawns of Parliament in a bid to shine a spotlight on climate change. The students are calling on the Prime Minister to rule out its gas-led recovery plans and invest in green energy.
We're not going to give up just because the Prime Minister says so, because he's also not actually taking action. So we'll go back to school when he starts taking action.
Grade 12 students led lessons and brought in experts to teach classes.
Regional footy finals are hitting crunch time. The North West and Southern Football Leagues begin finals this weekend, while a new NTFA Premier will be crowned.
Surrounded by Bogues, players are on strict instruction not to crack a can until after the grand final's over. For Delarane's Lockie Dornoff, a win tomorrow will break a long-running drought.
In terms of playing grand finals, I believe this is probably a loaded question. I've been in 11 and lost all 11, so I'm probably due.
The local dairy farmer has the once-in-a-lifetime chance to lead his side into a grand final on his home ground. The Roos will host Rocherlea after the Tigers downed Old Scotch by 5 goals in the prelim.
It's definitely got that finals feel about it, and it's not too different from a regular season now. The feel around the club's good.
Scottsdale will try to avenge last year's grand final loss when it takes on Old Launcestonians in the women's decider. The town is right behind the Pies.
Our coach, Cable Hall, he was also at the cattle sales yesterday at Piranha, and nearly every second person stopped him and said good luck with the girls on Sunday. So yeah, it's a whole sort of community thing.
We've definitely capitalised on our season last year where we just missed out of finals. We've had a lot of talent come in and we've all connected really well.
The Southern Football League's elimination final features two teams coming off polar opposite bases. Hobart went winless in 2019, while Lindisfarne took home the flag. But after a poor start this year, the two Blues were at risk of missing the finals race entirely.
We needed to win a lot of key games to make the five, and luckily we got over the line and won those ones.
First finals appearance since 2016, I think. So the boys are really up and about, and I think half the group haven't played a senior final, so it's a good test for them.
Cygnet plays New Norfolk in the qualifying final. And Burnie is the hot favourite in the North West Football League after going through the season undefeated. The Dockers play Wynyard tomorrow, while Devonport faces Penguin in the other semi. The current games record holder in the TSL is retiring. JAYE BOWDEN will play game number 244 for Glenorchy on Sunday. BOWDEN is just the second Magpie after Peter Hudson to kick 500 goals for the club and won the league's best and fairest 3 times, while his standout season in 2016 culminated in a drought-breaking premiership for the Pies.
Gets it out, Brown eyes that off.
I suppose to be able to contribute in a way where, you know, the club had been starved of a premiership for a fair while. To be able to play with my brother and my really close mates, especially with Aaron coming back to the club, who I played a lot of junior footy with, to be able to achieve that, that's definitely number one for me.
BOWDEN will play against North Hobart, the team he debuted against. Troy Cunliffe is back for the D's.
He's played one game out of the last 5. We've really missed his, not just his speed, and he accumulates the footy, but he's a really hard player at the contest. You know, so we'll probably start him on ball.
Glenorchy is coming off a short break after being soundly beaten by Lauderdale on Wednesday night. 2 rising stars for the Hurricanes have re-signed. Nathan Ellis and Mac Wright will play in the upcoming Big Bash season after inking new contracts.
Personally, obviously a really great year, not being on contract at the start of the year and earning my spot, and then playing every game was something that, you know, I look back really proudly on.
It was a no-brainer to sign on and repay some of the faith that the Hurricanes showed with me.
Ellis built a reputation last season for helping the side cling on to games going down to the wire, while Wright turned heads with 2 half-centuries in successive games. To local soccer now, and South Hobart's coach says the next week will be a big test for his side. Starting with Olympia this Saturday, South will play 3 games in just 7 days. Ken Morton says the fixture jam will give him a guide as to where the side sits in the competition.
Saturday against Olympia, Wednesday against Kingborough, and then obviously next Saturday against the Knights. So those 3 games will determine how well we've done.
Olympia lost to Clarence last week. However, the Warriors have won 3 of their last 5. Their caretaker coach also confirming he wants the top job next year.
Yeah, I'm going to apply for it. With all the upheaval, etc., and the weird season that we're having, I think it'd be unfair to judge on the last 6 games.
The match kicks off at Darcy Street at 2 p.m. Ariane Titmus is at the centre of a nasty stoush between swimming bodies and a fledgling competition. Titmus had been named to swim for the Cali Condors in the International Swimming League in Hungary, but Swimming Australia has since stepped in and blocked all travel exemptions for athletes wanting to compete. 28 Australians were affected by the move. The ISL has fired back, accusing national swimming bodies of bullying, pressuring athletes for political gain and going against the spirit of sport. The second season of the ISL is due to begin next month. And we're now in week 2 of our Friday night flashback to the Sydney Games. 20 years ago this week saw silver for Tasmania and a local athlete running her last Olympics race. 2 Tasmanians would represent half our lightweight coxless 4 at the Games. Franklin's Simon Burgess combining with Hobart's Darren Barmforth in a mighty fight against the French.
This is a fantastic finish, Australia and France. France and Australia, it's stroke for stroke.
Peter Landy nearly lost his voice in the call as Burgess and Barmforth produced the most epic of endings.
Can Australia come back? It's France and Australia. Australia and France. I think the French are going to get there. They have. Oh, what a finish. So close to a gold medal.
The pair taking silver following the heart-stopping finish. Also a silver medalist, Launceston's Matthew Gilmore, representing his adopted country, Belgium.
Well, on the left is Matthew Gilmore. You can call him from Tasmania because that's where he comes from, and his father Graham still lives there.
Tassie Kookaburra's Matthew Wells and Daniel Sproul charged ahead in this week of the Games. Sproul scoring the pair's sole goal of the Games.
Elder Sproul, yes!
Fantastic.
And there it is from the other angle, again to the top of the circle. It goes with drag left again, and Sproul plays the ball to make it 1-1.
The Opals' unbeaten run continued. Local support spurred Wynya's Carla Boyd.
Well, the strains of Waltzing Matilda go around the dome. Don't know that I've ever heard this in a basketball game before.
Hobart's Susan Andrews would go out in the heats of the 800 metres. It would be her last Olympics or Commonwealth Games appearance, while Mark Turnbull began his sailing campaign in the men's 470.
Good evening. Some temperatures today up to 8 below average, particularly over the central north and Midlands. Hobart 13, Launceston 8 degrees, Burnie 11 and Devonport 9. 15 the high at Friendly Beaches, Flinders Island and St Helens 13. King Island, Smithton and Strawn 12. Bushy Park 11, Lowhead 10. Lyawini started the day at -2 but warmed right up to 2 degrees. Now here's the cloud that brought 25 millimetres to Erebor last night, and today 24 millimetres to Grey and 14 millimetres to Launceston. Now all the cloud over our region also found its way over Victoria and New South Wales. A cold pool of air over the Bight and South Australia, with more cloud moving with low pressure systems as well. Tomorrow a high over the Bight extends a ridge over Central Australia. A low will be to our east as a cold front positions to our south in a brisk southerly airstream. So yes, south to southwesterlies tomorrow, 15 to 25 knots, reaching 30 knots during the afternoon. Swells up to 3.5 metres. Winds picking up over the Central Plateau too, but lighter over the southwest lakes. Strong wind warning for all Tasmanian coastal waters. We have a bushwalkers alert for snow to as low as 500 metres over the Central Plateau. A warning to sheep graziers in the southeast, a minor flood warning for the Meander River. Hobart tomorrow 13 with a shower or two. Showery for Medina just 9 and 8 degrees for Oatlands. Launceston expecting 14 and partly cloudy. Devonport 13, a top of 4 for Lyawini with snow showers. Partly cloudy for Burnie, 11 degrees. Showers further west, Strawn and Marrawar, 11 as well. St Helens tomorrow looking for 15 with a shower or two. Swansea 14, 13 the top for Orford. Sunday now an early frost for some and partly cloudy apart from a shower over the west. Another cool start to Monday, mostly fine conditions expected though. An early light shower over the northwest on Tuesday but mostly fine elsewhere. A possible storm in Perth. Cloudy weather forecast for Adelaide, showers easing from Melbourne, windy and sunny in Sydney, fine in Brisbane but dropping right down to 26. Oh dear, I hope they can get by. Meanwhile, we have to get by with a little bit of wet weather. 8 degrees and raining in Hobart, 7 in Launceston right now, rain at times in Devonport and currently 7 degrees. Considering everything that's going on in the world, and as our Premier says, Kim, we're living on the best place in the planet.
How true. Thank you very much, Murph. And that is all your news for now. I'll be back later with updates. You can join Louise over the weekend. I'll see you again Monday. Good night.